The day of my father's burial felt like a long shadow stretching across everything I'd ever known. The yard was crowded, muted tears, murmurs, and the thud of shovels. I stood there invisible, ignored even by people I grew up with. My mother, Lorraine, kept close to the pastor, avoiding my eyes. Then a firm hand clamped my arm. Uncle Robert pulled me away from the crowd, face drawn tight. "Clinton," he murmured, "we need to talk. Now." Beyond the cars, out of sight, he turned to me. "The will's already been read," he said quietly. My stomach dropped. "What?" He hesitated. "Your name wasn't in it." The words hit harder than the shovels striking dirt. "That's impossible." Robert shook his head slowly. "Everything went somewhere else, someone else." He looked around and leaned closer. "But that's not even the worst part," he said, voice trembling. I blinked, speechless. "Roberty. L. Everything, house, land, business, went to your cousin Tyler." My mind froze. Tyler, the smug one who always talked money. I looked toward him now, tailored suit, shaking hands like a CEO. "Why?" I asked. "Your dad didn't want to, Clinton," Robert whispered. "He was pressured." "By who?" Robert's silence told me more than words. "Your mom and Tyler wouldn't leave him alone." My chest burned. It was hard to breathe watching Tyler smile beside my father's grave. Robert's grip tightened on my shoulder. "There's more. Your dad tried to change everything before he passed." A hollow ache spread through me. My mother's calm gaze across the crowd looked almost rehearsed. Robert lowered his voice again. "This isn't over, son. Just promise you'll keep quiet for now." I could barely nod. My hands were shaking. If Dad hadn't signed willingly, what kind of family did I still have? That evening after the funeral, mourners filled the house, but the air felt frozen. My mother moved between guests, cold and efficient. "Mom," I said quietly, stepping beside her. "Uncle Robert told me about the will." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't start, Clinton. Your father's gone. Respect him." "I just need to understand." She turned sharply. "What's done is done." Her tone cut like glass. She walked away, leaving me standing alone amid condolences. Later, near the porch, Robert found me again, glancing around before slipping a small folded paper into my palm. "Your dad tried to fix this," he whispered. "Read it when you're alone." The note was warm from his hand, edges browned. "What is this?" I asked. He looked grim. Proof he didn't want things this way. Inside my room, I stared at that folded scrap like it carried his heartbeat. Something was wrong, deeply wrong, and my gut knew it. The note was half burned, my father's slanted handwriting barely legible. "Someone close to me is forcing my hand. I can't say more yet. If anything happens, look for..." The rest was torn away except for the start of a name, Uremo. My pulse thundered. I lowered the paper slowly, breath catching. There was no doubt whose name that was meant to be. Outside, faint laughter from relatives drifted through the walls, Tyler's booming voice above them all. I folded the burnt note, hid it in my pocket, and stared at my father's framed photo on the dresser. "Who did this to you?" I whispered. The tension crawling under my skin wouldn't leave. If Dad had felt threatened, then his death might not have been as peaceful as everyone believed. By morning, grief had turned to purpose. I was going to find the truth no matter who it hurt. After the burial reception, Tyler called everyone to the veranda. As the new manager of Dad's estate, he announced loudly, "I'll handle all property matters." He smiled toward me. "Clinton, I assume you'll be vacating the house soon?" Laughter rippled among a few guests. Before I could react, Uncle Robert stood. "Not until the truth comes out," he said, voice booming. Everyone fell silent. Tyler's face stiffened. "Truth about what, Uncle?" "You know what?" Robert snapped. "You and your aunt pushed your father into signing that will." Gasps filled the air. My mother froze beside the doorway. "You're drunk," she said tightly. Robert shook his head. "Drunk enough to remember that day vividly." Tyler's charm evaporated, replaced by fury. "Watch your mouth." Robert stared him down. "Maybe it's time everyone did." The crowd murmured again. And for the first time, I saw doubt flicker across my mother's eyes. Later that night, Robert pulled me behind the house, away from prying ears. I was there, Clinton, he said, trembling. I saw your father hesitate when that paper was placed in front of him. I stared. He signed it in front of you? Yes. Lorraine stood behind him. Tyler beside her. He looked terrified. Why didn't you speak up? Robert rubbed his face. I was scared. Your mother's influence runs deep in this family. But I did something, you need to know. He glanced around, lowering his voice. I recorded that day. I thought it might help if things went bad. My heart kicked. You have a recording? I did, he said grimly. But it's gone. My office was broken into. The fire inside me flared hotter. Then they know you talked. Maybe, he said. But your dad kept backups of everything. Check his study, the cabinet behind the old books. It was hope, faint but alive. That night I crept into my father's study. Dust coated the furniture, yet one section of the shelf looked freshly disturbed. I shifted books aside until I found an empty rectangle, the outline of something once there. A chill ran through me. Still searching? Tyler's voice came from the doorway. He leaned casually against the frame, smirking. I stiffened. I could ask you the same. He stepped in. Why dig through Dad's things? He's gone. Let it rest. Someone took documents from this room, I said. He grinned. Maybe you misplaced them. You were always careless. I ignored him, fists tight. His arrogance reeked of guilt. Later, outside, Mrs. Thompson, the old neighbor, approached me. Clinton, I saw Tyler leaving here 2 nights before the funeral, she whispered. He looked nervous and was holding a file. I nodded slowly, anger solidifying into certainty. They'd taken whatever my father left behind. But the game wasn't over. The next morning I found Tyler by the gate, giving construction orders like he owned the world. I walked straight up. Tell me what you stole from Dad's room, I said. He laughed. You're losing it. Answer me, Tyler. He stepped closer, smirk twisting. You were never meant to inherit anything anyway. What's that supposed to mean? He leaned near my ear. Maybe Dad finally figured out you weren't really his son. The world tilted. I froze, heartbeat slamming in my chest. He walked off, humming, leaving the poison behind. The whisper spread fast. By afternoon, relatives eyed me differently, some with pity, others with curiosity. I went to my mother's room, voice shaking. Is it true? She looked up from her mirror, calm as ever. People gossip. Then say it's a lie. She stood, brushing past me. Drop it, Clinton. You'll only hurt yourself. Her evasion was louder than any confession. By evening the whispers had become echoing judgment. I sat on the back steps, staring into darkness, feeling like half a ghost. Uncle Robert approached quietly. She didn't deny it, did she? He asked. I shook my head. She acted like it didn't matter. He sighed. It's manipulation. They're trying to break you down so you'll stop fighting. Then I need proof, I said. Robert nodded. Talk to your father's lawyer, Mr. Lawson. He drafted every version of the will. I hesitated. Will he even talk to me? He might if he's still got a conscience. That night, I looked out at my dark house and realized what was at stake. It wasn't just inheritance anymore, it was truth, blood or not. All right, I said softly to the shadows. Time to hear what Dad really wanted. Mr. Lawson's downtown office smelled of dust and unease. He rose as I entered, gray-haired, nervous. Clinton, he said, avoiding eye contact. This isn't a good idea. I need to know about my father's will, I replied. He sighed heavily. I already told your mother everything. I'm not her, I said quietly. He pressed his lips together. You shouldn't be here. You don't understand how powerful your family is. Then make me understand. He rubbed his temple. What do you want me to say? There was another will, yes, but it was destroyed. And I'd rather not lose my license. That one sentence stopped my breath. So the first will left everything to me, I said. He looked up sharply. How do you know that? Just tell me the truth. He lowered his voice. Clinton, your family isn't who you think they are. The words echoed long after I left his office into the gray, cold air. A week later, Mr. Lawson called me from a private number. His voice trembled. "Meet me behind my office, no one must see us." I waited by the alley as his old car rolled up. He leaned over, eyes darting nervously, holding an envelope. "This shouldn't exist," he said. Inside was a faded photocopy, my father's earlier will. Every asset, every company share was under one name, mine. "You were telling the truth," I whispered. Lawson nodded. "Your father changed his mind a few months ago. He trusted you completely." Then Lorraine and Tyler showed up days before he passed, insisting he'd written a new version. They said he was of sound mind. He swallowed hard. "They forced me to destroy the original copy. She threatened everything, my job, my family." I gripped the papers, my throat burning. What were they hiding? Lawson glanced at the ground. "Fraud. Big money pulled out of the business." His voice dropped lower. "Your father found out, and then suddenly he was gone." I sat in my car, staring at the envelope. Part of me wanted to cry, the other wanted to burn the world down. That night, I called Uncle Robert and told him what I'd learned. His silence stretched for a long time before he said, "Then we were right all along." He tapped the table slowly. "The company audits, that's where it'll show. Tyler faked numbers. Lorraine signed off. So Mom helped cover it?" He nodded. "She was terrified your father would expose them." I felt sick. "And she disinherited me to protect herself." Robert sighed. "It's deeper than greed, Clinton. It's control." I stared at the document again, black ink outlining my father's real intentions. "Then we'll take this to court." Robert gave a grim smile. "Brace yourself. They won't go quietly." Outside, wind howled through the trees. For the first time since the funeral, I felt calm. Truth had a pulse again, and I wasn't stopping until it screamed. The next evening, I met Robert under the flickering porch light. "Lawson confirmed everything," I said. "I expected as much," he replied softly. "What did Dad find before he died?" Robert hesitated. "He discovered that Tyler had set up fake supplier accounts under the company's name. Lorraine co-signed the transfers." "How much?" "Hundreds of thousands. Maybe more." I clenched my fist. "He was going to report them." Robert nodded. "He told me that night. He said if anything happened, I should look after you." I looked toward the dark house where my mother sat behind drawn curtains. The woman who raised me had built her shield out of lies. She destroyed her own son to protect her image. Robert's voice broke quietly. "And her fortune." I took a deep breath. "Then it's time someone destroyed her lies." Robert placed a hand on my shoulder. "Be careful, Clinton. When power is all someone has left, they fight dirty." I returned to Lawson's office the next morning. He looked worse, pale, exhausted. "What else are you hiding?" I asked. He slid a manila folder toward me. Inside were copies of wire transfers and emails signed under Tyler's name, all approved electronically by my mother. "Your father confronted them 2 days before his collapse," Lawson said quietly. I felt the blood drain from my face. "You think they—" He shook his head. "I can't prove anything. But his death made things convenient." My throat tightened. "He trusted me and they buried him with secrets." Lawson pushed the folder closer. "Now you have proof they forged the will. Be smart, go legal." When I left, the winter air bit hard at my skin. I walked past city lights that blurred like ghosts. At that moment, I realized vengeance wasn't what I wanted, justice was. And justice wouldn't wait forever. Tyler must have felt the walls closing in. Within days, he'd listed one of Dad's properties for sale. I filed a legal complaint that same afternoon. Within hours, an injunction froze every estate transaction. When Tyler showed up at the house, he was shaking with anger. "You think you can fight us?" "I already am," I said. Lorraine called soon after, her voice icy. "You're embarrassing this family." "No, Mom," I answered. "You embarrassed yourself when you lied to Dad." She hung up without a word. That night, Robert dropped by. We sat silently until he said, "You ready for court?" "As ready as I'll ever be." Rain slapped the windows, Thunder echoed in the distance. "Clinton," Robert said quietly, "your father would have been proud." I looked out into the storm. "Then I'll make sure his name is cleared." The first court session was tense enough to choke on. On one side sat Lorraine and Tyler with their lawyer, on the other just me and mine. Their attorney painted me as ungrateful and unstable, a jealous son inventing lies. But when Uncle Robert took the stand, heads turned. His voice wavered at first. "I was there when my brother signed that will." "What did you see?" the judge asked. "I saw him trembling. I heard Lorraine threaten to reveal something if he didn't sign." Tyler stood there, pressuring him. The courtroom buzzed. Their lawyer objected, but the judge let him continue. Robert exhaled. "I made a recording that day, but it vanished." My heart sank, until he added, "At least I thought it had." The judge leaned forward. "Explain." Robert smiled faintly. "It took weeks to recover, but I found a backup. I felt the ground shift beneath everyone's feet." The next hearing began with the room packed. Robert handed over a small drive. When played, the audio filled the room, hiss, then voices unmistakable. Dad's voice, "I don't think this is right." Lorraine, "Sign it or everyone will know what you did." Tyler, "Just make it easy for us, old man." Gasps rippled through the court. I couldn't breathe. Hearing my father's fear was like hearing him die again. Lorraine sat motionless, jaw clenched. The judge stopped the recording. "That's clear evidence of coercion," he said. Their lawyers sputtered about authenticity until forensic experts verified it on record. When the sound resumed, my mother hissed, "He won't dare refuse, his precious reputation matters more." Then silence. The judge closed the file and stared hard at them both. The courtroom didn't just tilt toward me, it thundered. The momentum turned quickly. Tyler's confidence cracked like thin ice. Under questioning, he folded. "Yes," he shouted finally. "We made him sign. She told me it was the only way. She said everything would fall apart if he didn't." He pointed at Lorraine, shaking. "It was her plan." The room fell still. Lorraine's face remained frozen, lips trembling only slightly. "Mrs. Lawrence," the judge said coolly, "do you have anything to say?" She looked up, slow and cold. "Everything I did was for control," she said. "Control of what?" She didn't answer. Tyler slumped down in his seat. Robert squeezed my shoulder from behind. The judge declared both under investigation for fraud and document tampering. My chest felt hollow but steady. For the first time since the funeral, I could breathe without shaking. Dad's voice in that recording had saved his own name. The final day of court arrived drenched in rain. Lorraine finally spoke during sentencing. "I loved him," she said softly, "but I loved power more. I couldn't lose everything because of his stubborn pride." Her words landed like stones. Tyler wept beside her. The judge sighed. "You let greed eat your family alive." He turned toward me. "Mr. Clinton, you've shown integrity in fighting for truth. Few would." I gave a short nod, unable to speak. Lorraine glanced at me once, eyes red, then lowered her head. The ruling would come the next morning. That night, I sat alone by my father's old desk. The burnt note lay beside the restored will. The sound of rain felt like forgiveness, faint, steady, cleansing. Whatever happened next, at least the truth had finally spoken. The courtroom was silent as the judge read the verdict. "The fraudulent will is hereby nullified. The original will, naming Clinton as sole heir, stands valid." My knees nearly gave out. The rest came in waves. Order to restore property, formal charges for Tyler, restrictions for my mother. When the gavel struck, I felt something settle inside me, not joy but completion. Outside, Robert hugged me. "Your father can rest now." I looked toward the gray sky. "And maybe Mom can finally face herself." Weeks later, I moved back into the house. It was quiet, echoing with old memories and new peace. I didn't celebrate. I just fixed what had been broken and filled the space with silence instead of shouting. Justice had come, steady, patient, absolute. I looked at my father's photograph. "We made it right," I murmured. And this time the silence felt like home.